HooHooHooRobin.
What we can do right now is talk to our friend Richard Huff. He writes for TV for the Post? Daily News. Oh, my God, one. Richard, I'm so sorry.
Good one.
I'm so sorry.
First, you have the announcement of a funeral being held tomorrow for one of the staffers, and now you stay up from that other paper. That hurts, guys.
Congratulations, by the way. Page 4 of the Daily News, they put your great article.
It's not buried like most of your articles. So
thanks a lot. But, it's New Year's Day. They're always scrambling for
I want to bring everyone on board. Richard Huff, we kind of really hated. And then when we decided to confront him, and we became pals. I hate when that happens, without getting into, crazy details. But we love this guy. He writes about TV and, of course, the Daily News. I got to tell you, though, Richard, I pick up the Daily News and the Post every day. I don't know which is which.
Hey, that hurts.
I know you guys work your asses off to kind of distinguish yourselves, but I know Richard Huff. I just didn't know what paper you wrote for.
You wrote the article about Dave coming back, because Leno has typically been beating him in the ratings for a long time, and Worldwide Pants cut a deal with their writers to come back, because Letterman owns his show, Leno doesn't. And I've kind of had mixed feelings about what this means for the writers' strike. What do you think? Is this better or worse for the writers as a whole?
Well, I think in some ways it's better only because some of them get back to work. This thing's dragging on. People have been talking already about some writers' strike fatigue. Where this goes, I don't know, but I do think in some ways it's a little better just because people are working.
Well, what's happening is Letterman's people are going back to work. They've cut Letterman. I think Worldwide Pants gave the writers what they wanted. But what it does, in a way, it's a weird, catch-22. You're happy for those guys because, they're going to be working again. But the rest of the writers now, Leno's writers, Leno's been a big supporter of the writers, but he doesn't own The Tonight Show. So he can't cut the deal that Letterman could cut, or he would. So now he's kind of screwed. So he has to go back without writers. So isn't it almost letting them continue with the shows now? Didn't that kind of open the floodgates for the networks to continue the shows?
You mean the late-night shows?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, those shows are different in the sense that they so depend on that topical stuff. Just like you guys, every day you're talking about stuff that's happening today. That's what those shows depend on. So at some point, you gotta bring them back. It'd be great to have writers, obviously, because we're not sure what these shows are going to look like without writers.
Well, just listen to the Opie and Anthony show.
Exactly. The visual drivel.
Well,
Richard's basically saying, hey, why don't you get a writer or two?
Well, they're going to be different, though. They're not going to be able to do the sketch bits that they use to fill in time. They'll probably have to have more guests to fill in some of that extra time. And shows like, Leno and Conan, what kind of guests are they going to get? Because people are afraid to cross picket lines.
Well, I think this will hurt Leno, unfortunately, because I love Jay, but I think it's because his strength to me was the monologue.
Right.
Because Jay is such a good comic, and whether people don't understand how edgy he is in today's climate, the racial stuff he does, the social stuff he does, that to me was the strongest part of the Tonight Show, is that monologue, that long monologue. And you're right, a lot of the guests will be probably afraid to go on his show at the risk of pissing off the writers.
I don't know much about Jay Leno, but it seems like he writes a lot of that monologue. I know he has writers helping him, but just with his background as being a stand-up comic, I think he gets a lot of his lines in there.
Well, yeah. What's the rule with that, Richard? Because he's a WGA member, but he's also Jay of the Tonight Show. Is he allowed to write for it?
Well, technically, according to the union rules, no. He's not allowed to perform any written material or to do the work that writers normally do. The network is arguing that that's not the case with these guys. And you're absolutely right. Jay writes a lot of his stuff. Every time I've ever talked to him, he's thrown jokes out just to see how they work.
Yeah.
And also, we can't deny the fact that all of these guys got into this spot because they're talented. And out on the road, as you know, Jim, it's you. So, you can't discount their role in this.
Right.
It's a matter of how much of that extra stuff is helped by others.
Well, Conan was not. Conan, I think, is more of a writer. And he may. I don't know if he'll have trouble because, again, I really don't watch the show. But it's he's not a stand-up. He's certainly capable of talking and being conversational, but he's not a traditional stand-up. So he's going to be forced into a role where he doesn't have 20 years of stand-up experience behind him.
Right.
Maybe like Letterman was a stand-up comic too. So I don't know. It should be kind of interesting to watch.
I'm going to be watching.
If it will hurt.
What these shows look like.
Because Dave is going to get he's got Robin Williams tonight.
Right.
He's going to get all these guests.
Well, you know why he got Robin Williams. Just let them babble for 40 minutes. The show's over.
Robin
Babble. I mean, they don't have to fill time. Trust me.
Well, it's also a statement too, because Robin was a big supporter of the writers.
Yep.
So for him,
he was on the picket line.
Yeah.
I went out to the picket line a few times. It was a who's who. It was fun to check out.
You know, all I'm noticing though in the news is all stories about how they're getting around the strike. I haven't heard one word about negotiations or how they're trying to settle this thing. Anyone who's talking, this is really one of those situations where no one seems to be trying to solve the problem.
Well, you know, the talks broke down a couple weeks ago, and as of now, there aren't any talks scheduled.
Yeah.
And I think the union is hoping that, you know, deals like Letterman's show that people can negotiate some of this stuff. Now, I mean, let's not forget the fact, too, that Letterman's able to do this because he owns his shows, and some of the stuff that they're arguing over, he can't control anyway. So, you know, how his show gets on CBS.com is really in CBS's hands. So there's some, you know, wiggle room in some of that stuff.
Well, I just think I just think it's odd sometimes when these unions are so deeply involved in people's livelihood like this. And I do understand there are issues. You know, the writers want what they want. You know, they want a cut of things that they've been cut out of for so long. But again, just because you're a writer, why do you have to be part of this giant group that all has to be treated the same? How about, like they're doing with the late night shows, you get your job and it's based on your individual merits, what you do, what deal you make with your employer, because that seems to be what a lot of people have to do. Unions they really hold companies hostage sometimes, and it hurts everybody. I mean, it hurts. There are people that have nothing to do with this that are out of work.
It does hurt people that, like, well, the thing is this. No, I'm sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like, the bad part is, like what you're saying, that, like, a lot of times weakness is rewarded because they're union members. Mm-hmm. But I think in a case like this, from what I understand about it, what the writers are asking for is justified. So it's like the union is the only way to show strength, because as individuals, man, these guys, they pay Adam Sandler $20 million a film. There's no one that they wouldn't individually just cut off. These companies can outlive anybody.
But how about your talent? Right, you're a talented writer. You would then deserve to earn more, to get more of what you ask for, just like anything in any job that you're in. It's based on your merits at work. Why should you be lumped in together? Let's say you work you're just in an office and you do your job very well. Some idiot is a loafer, I like to say, Jimmy, a loafer. And why are you all lumped into one category that you should all make this amount of money and get this and this? I think writers should, based on their own merits, that should be how they're compensated.
I think they are, though. Richard, I don't know what the scale is, but I'm sure that Bill Sheffield, I believe, is the head writer for Letterman. I'm sure he probably makes more.
He probably does, based on the union contract, not based on, hey, I hammered out this deal or my agent hammered out this deal with this company. The union thing, I think, worked well when people were really being taken advantage of. And now I think it's gotten to the point where the unions and the companies, too, are able to even take more advantage of these people because there are still unions.
Richard, do you know how that works, the structure of the writing pay?
You know, I am not an expert on how that works, but I think the unions basically cover the minimums in those cases. The same thing with the acting union. Mm-hmm. There are minimums that you are required to get to appear on certain shows.
Right.
But, of course, if you're a better actor, you can make more money, and I think it's the same way with writers. I'm not exactly sure about that, but I believe that's the case, as you just mentioned. And you're right. I mean, you wonder why everybody's covered the same way, but that's the way this system has been set up with the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild, the Actors Guild.
Yeah.
And I can see the Writers Guild point as people, and we're, you know, product creators, you and I and all of us, and the extra ways it's getting out there, they want some piece of that. But
don't you think that some writers deserve that and other writers don't?
Absolutely.
And why should they all be in the same category where they all deserve it? See, that's what I don't understand. You're forcing people to pay you more money, give you more benefits, when maybe you just don't deserve it. And maybe this guy deserves twice as much.
Well, the writers...
That's the union way. I mean, it's been that way forever, be it doormen or writers. And it's been that way a long time. And that's
extortion.
You know, but the sad thing is, as you pointed out before, a lot of people are getting hurt. The guy who makes egg salad sandwiches for the Kraft truck at the Leno show, if there is one, or any of those other things, that guy, he really had to hurt through Christmas. And he's still hurt because he's selling less sandwiches. He's not doing the work he's normally done, and he's not tied up in all this stuff.
Well, Richard, don't forget one thing though. With these deals with DVD payments, the writers are kind of making it on their own merit because you're only going to be paid for the stuff you've contributed on. It's not like the guys who write garbage B movies are going to be paid on 30 Rock syndication money. You're only making the money on the stuff that you've contributed. So if you're a low-level writer who's just making a minimum and you haven't contributed to any of these stuff, you're not going to be making anything from it. But if you're a writer for 24 or any of these major shows, then you will reap the benefits because you've kind of earned it by writing a hit show.
Well, that's true.
Good point, Jimmy.
It's also, that guy who's making that B movie, if that B movie is, delivered on the Starz website or something, they want that extra money. Again, it's, we're in this new age of delivery systems where you can get stuff on cell phones and whatnot, and somebody's making money off of that. I remember years ago when the Friends was still on the air and the cast got upset because they heard some syndication executive say, "Oh, we're going to make $3 million an episode," and the cast sat around and said, "Well, wait a second, we're only making a few tens of thousands an episode," and the next thing you know, they held out and got $1 million an episode.
Good.
So, we're all hearing about these other delivery systems. Look, my stuff goes on the internet now on the Daily News website. That's an extra use of my material. That's essentially what the writers...
You must be getting dozens of hits.
Well, it's the way I'm able to, take the time to talk to you guys.
Oh, brother.
Don't forget, too,
my vacation home over on the west side.
Don't forget, too, companies are never going to volunteer to give you money. Like, I think, I could be wrong, but Joyce Randolph was the only one to get, syndication money out of the Honeymooners because they didn't have the foresight back then.
Right.
And I think her brother was a lawyer. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but... of the millions of dollars that was raked in because of that brilliant show, the people that made it probably saw virtually none of it.
Because again, they didn't know about that syndication thing back then.
So each effort that comes along, so I can understand that angle. At some point, though, it gets too long. It's how long is this going to go?
Yeah, I think the technology completely outran people's, I don't know, the way people get paid for it. Things are getting thrown around now, like you said, on the internet and other delivery systems. You could download it onto your iPod, things like that. And no one saw this coming. So, whose fault is it really?
Well, the question is, can they make up the money they've lost in the next deal? And that's the big unanswered question.
Right. Hey, Richard, they're going to take us off the air here, but we want to talk about some of the TV shows that are popping up. Could you maybe give us a call back tomorrow? We'll do the second half of the interview.
Whenever you want.
All right, we'll have Richard Huff tomorrow on the show discussing some of the shows out there. What show do you really like, real fast?
Well, a show I really love is called Life, but they've run out of episodes.
Oh, that's right. You were telling us about that last time.
Yeah. So, now we're waiting to see some of this new stuff, which is mostly reality. Let's see what Gladiators looks like.
Hey, when does The Wire come back for HBO? The fifth and final season? This weekend?
Yeah.
I just watched season 1 again on DVD.
Great show.
Looking forward to Lost.
Well, it's never been one of my favorites, but it's coming.
Oh, you silly goose.
Language.
How about Biggest Loser couples?
Hey, that's a fun show. You can't beat that show.
I love when they break down and cry. It's hilarious.
Exactly. And there are some big people.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk to Richard Huff tomorrow.
Thanks, Richard.
Take care, guys.
See you,
From the Daily News. You do write a great column there, Richard.
Thank you.
All right. Richard Huff writes about TV for the Daily News.
And it's on the website.
Huh?
Yes, on the website.
Doesn't it?
What?
Did you watch The Wire yet?
I have all 3 seasons just sitting there waiting.
There's 4.
Waiting.
There's 4?
Yeah, there's a 4th one.
Wait, do I have all 4? Or all
You probably do.
Oh, the 4th one just came out, right? That's why I don't have it. And you didn't...
They did send it to you. I think they sent you all 4.
And why didn't you call me Gregorio?
Because we all think it. Why say it?
Calling you that,
That's all
though.
I think.
What?
I don't think I'll be calling you that.
But why?
I don't like it.
I call you Antonio.
You never have, I don't think.
Well, for now on. Antonio!
Gregorio!
No, Gregorio!
Rio.
You gotta pump it up. Gregorio!
No, my hand goes down and to the left. Watch The Wire, please, so we can talk about it.
I really want to, and it's sitting there. I'm watching a documentary on New York City right now.
Boo.
It's
and it's Burns. It's that Burns guy, Ken Burns, and
our pal Ken Burns.
He can't do a documentary that takes, I don't know, maybe 4 hours.
He gets in depth.
I'm 20 hours in, and I'm only on the 4th disc of 8.
He does it in
Holy
actual time.
crap!
In real time.
They're gonna build a brand new skyscraper by the time I'm done with this documentary. We get it, Ken.
Yeah. All right,
we're battling. We'll see you guys at X. If not, have a great day. Bye.
Robin, Robin, Robin.